What a joy, what a challenge to speak after Kirsten. She moved me to tears, and I must say I was glad there was a break in between. Because when I think about Sumatra, I was there as well. I was the editor director in those days, and I had great problems. Problems with my faith, problems with God. I was asking God, where were you in that tsunami? And then I met a family, a new family. They said, we're getting together again. I have a new wife. We have children from 2 families. And I was wondering, well, what else are you going to say? And then he said to me, when Edra came, God came. So God always comes. And it helped me there. It was like 70 years ago when D-Day was there. D-Day, and it's not 170 years, we'll speak about that disappointment later, but about another disappointment in the Netherlands. There were high expectations on the 9th of September. There was a River Rhine not far away from here. Maybe you've seen the film One Bridge Too Far, and the Allied troops were nearly there because they were going to liberate Holland. And they dropped some parachutes with people on the north side of the Rhine. There were people swimming over the Rhine, and everybody was expecting the bridge to fall. But regrettably, it didn't happen. Many people were killed and gave their life there. We celebrate it, or I don't know whether you can celebrate it, still every year. It was the 70th anniversary. And before they used to drop still these old men from the sky, but they said we cannot do that on parachutes anymore. So the troops together now rowed one of these swimmers across to thank him because they came. They came to help. Regrettably, for some it was too late, because then the hunger winter came. And many people died that winter. But still, many survived. You would almost say a remnant survived. And because of that, the Dutch survived. D-Day became Disaster Day. Quite often all these words with D are so negative. Disappointment, doubts, disillusionment, defeat, despair, death. Do not. Do not. Sometimes I feel more like do nuts. Do something funny. And then I'll think about a negative word as well. I don't know whether it's a negative word. Donuts. Anyway, the Swedes did not drop donuts and the Americans didn't. They brought white bread. Not whole wheat bread. Thank you, Sweden, that you brought white bread. And we survived because of that. Now, 100 years before that, we were looking for G-Day, Glorious Day, on October 22, 1844. They were sure they had it right now, because the year before they were wrong. Regrettably, they made the same mistake again. James White, Hiram Edson, families' disappointment. And they checked and they rechecked. And they were so sure. But again, they were disappointed. I was very impressed with my former roommate's talk, Lawrence, about the Emmaus people. I was going to do something similar, but since he is the professor, I decided to change a bit. So I want to take you before that story of the Emmaus. There in Luke 19:37, you see there is a crowd, and you can say it goes easy, it goes fast. There is the crowd, and they're ready for Jesus to cheer. And in that crowd, most likely, we find Cleopas and his friend, his partner, his wife. I don't know anymore. I'm quite mixed up, you know. That is what Lawrence always used to do in the room. He used to challenge me. And then he would go to the library because Anne was working there. Yes, that's how it happened. But there is that glorious part. They were going into Jerusalem, and when the crowd came, everybody shouted. Luke 19, verse 37, and it says, the whole crowd of the disciples began joyfully, like overflow, to praise God, in loud voices. Yeah, so don't worry about the loud. For all the miracles they had seen, they couldn't sing quietly. They sang, blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the heavens, because they'd seen the miracles, joyful, joyful, on a glorious day. But somehow that one didn't work out either. Because a week later, they were shouting, crucify, crucify. Another disappointment. Life seems to be full of these disappointments. Why were we wrong in these expectations? 170 years ago, the 22nd of October came, the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th, the 26th. Like the 26th comes today. Nothing happened. So finally they went home. They said it's not going to happen. And like in Holland, they were worried what to eat. Well, the Dutch had little to eat because they could not prepare. They could have been prepared. But they said, well, Jesus is coming. So they had the potatoes rotten in the ground. Nothing to eat for the winter. Because of wrong expectations. Well, somehow they survived the winter because they did things together. And somehow they find something to harvest. I don't know what it was. I think it was corn. A fellow, Hiram Edson, we see him in the cornfield, inspecting his corn, maybe ready to harvest so that they could survive. Looking up in the heavens and asking for help. I don't know all the things that he saw there, but we are heirs of that, and somehow we survived. A remnant group continually going. Let's go back to the Gospels again, back to Luke. Because in Luke you'll find it with one voice they now shouted, but it's a different shout. Crucify, crucify! Away with him, release him. Who? Barnabas. And Pilate said, no! Crucify him, crucify him. Something happened there. He was crucified. Cleopas and his wife Mary, or his friends, were there. Mary Magdalene was there. Maybe they got confused because they heard the criminal say. One of the criminals said, aren't you the Christ? Save yourself and us. Good question. But Jesus did not save that criminal from the first death. No, he didn't do that. There was another one there. Another one who recognized him. He recognized who Christ was somehow. Cleopas and his wife or his friend didn't recognize him at first. But he saw something there, something special. And then he said, remember me. He recognized him. Remember me when you come in your kingdom. That's interesting. He's not worried anymore whether he would die there or not, but he was worried, will I be in the eternal kingdom? If anyone ever heard the present truth of the lips from the truth present, it was that criminal. If anyone ever heard the present truth of the lips from the truth present, it was that criminal. On that glorious day, he said, you will be in that kingdom. The present truth for that dying man was, you will be in that kingdom. Now, what is present truth? It's not always clear to me. It's no longer clear to me. It's no longer clear to Cleopas and Mary. Cleopas and his girlfriend, his boyfriend, I don't know what it was, his brother, his partner. Anyway, it looks as if they're living together. Because when they come in Emmaus, they say, come and stay with us. They were mixed up. They were mixed up, and they said, we must now reflect. And I don't know whether you're mixed up or not. But we stirred your thinking. And we hope that you start reflecting, that you talk it over. Because that is what they said. And let us go home. Let us go home. We want to know everything. And it was at that time, when we see the scriptures again, that Jesus came. Somehow they did not recognize him. Somehow their eyes were closed. I don't know exactly what it all means. Anyway, they're probably still weeping or something like that. I don't know. What are you discussing? And then they said, are you the only visitor? So they didn't even recognize him as a local. He must have looked like a visitor. A visitor somehow. How is it possible that you do not know? Sometimes we wonder, how is it possible that people don't know? Are you the only visitor? And then they say, he was a prophet man, powerful in word and deed. So words and actions. That's the theme of my favorite football club, I want to tell you, but it's true. Words and actions. Their actions are not too good these days, they're better in their words. But anyway, I'll stick with them because I'm hoping for the acts to come. And then it says in the Bible, we thought, we had hoped he was the one. He was our project. He was our one project. We wanted to join his project by knocking over the Romans. But he was not there to knock over the Romans. We're so confused. And what is more, he's dead now. He's been dead for 3 days. And you know what? There's another amazing thing. Some of the women amazed us. Nothing has changed. Women always amaze me. You know? But Christ appeared to the women first of all. And I think Christ ordained Mary to go to the man, to tell the story, yeah, so that we men could also believe. They came and told us what they had seen. They didn't find the body, the man. Then some of the companions went to the tombs and found it just as the woman had said, but they did not see. They had to hear the gospel from the women. Like the gospel went to Europe by a woman. The first minister was Lydia in Europe. She preached. She was the first one. And she went there. And the whole of Europe was converted. Ultimately, the gospel also came to England and to Rotterdam, where I was born. Rotterdam is where the Mayflower left. That is how Adventism came about. So Adventism came out of Holland, my friends. Yes, you can applaud for that one. Yes, yes, sure. I believe it. That's why I love Rotterdam. I will never leave it. Yeah, there, that little Mayflower where they knelt. Yeah, that went. And Adventism now came back somehow in the one project from America. That's good. But that's because Japhet was educated at Newbold. It's all so simple, my friends. It is all so simple. Yeah? And then it says, and he explained them everything about him. Now I loved what my friend Lawrence told me, but I've always been wondering, you know, did he explain Daniel 9:25 to 27? The last of the 70 weeks, the last week, you know? Did he say, don't you remember 457 years before I was born? And they didn't call it BC in those days, because that came later. Don't you know that I had to be this and that, and in the middle of that week, did he explain Daniel 2, the image and the stone, all about him? I don't know. I don't know whether that was necessary for them. Some things are necessary for certain times. What did the truth present tell as the present truth? What a walk. They walked like Enoch. Please, they said, stay with us. But Jesus says, no, I cannot stay. Well, he stayed for a while, to explain them, to explain them the things. And then finally they broke bread. And as he broke bread and as he gave it to them, they saw the wounds in his hands. And they could not talk anymore with him because all of a sudden, he was gone. But what is more important, and I don't know whether they ate a bit of the bread before they had to run that half a mile or whatever, 1/4 mile, but they left. They ran as fast as they could because their eyes were opened. And when your eyes are opened, you cannot say, okay, I'll meditate on this one. No, they went. And then they said, weren't our hearts looking, burning for present truth within us, while the truth present talked with us on the road? And he opened the scriptures for us. They ran. The present truth is there, that he is alive. What those women told is true. My goodness. What the women are telling is truth. Hold your breath and shake it. Yeah? Oh yes, it is. The truth present is with us. We did not recognize him. He gave us spiritual food, but also literal food. And then because the others were not there, he comes again. And they want to touch him, because he came through the door. And when you come through the door, that is not something that is normal. But when you come to a closed door, it's kind of different, You want to feel, And they felt him. And then he said, very simple, do you have some food? And they brought him some fish. So Jesus, with his resurrected, beautiful, pure body, ate fish. The gospel must always be local. Yeah? You eat fish with the people who eat fish. You eat a veggie burger with the people who are vegetarian. Yeah? He opened their minds. Yeah? And then there's two things that bind us together. It is his blood and his body. The body that was broken, the blood that dripped drop by drop from the cross. You have the emblems at your table. Talk about it. Celebrate it. What have you learned? What do you want to take to the others? How was, as Kirsten said, your imagination tickled? One of my favorite writers, Albert Einstein, whom I don't fully understand, but I like what he writes, says imagination is more important than knowledge. And that's so comforting for me, because I have a great imagination and little knowledge. Yeah? So I can imagine. What does your imagination show you? What are you going to take away? Are you going to take the truth presence once again and share the present truth? Talk with one another at your tables. Eat the bread together, break the bread together, drink the juice, the wine together, And I've said it's not one of these small cups, you know. Fill your cup and let it overflow if you really want Jesus to be in your heart. Dear God, thank you so much for present truth. Thank you above all for truth present that came to us. And as we drink,